welcome to Random Thought Thursdays. So people ask me a lot, how do I afford to rodeo and barrel race? Well, I don't. That's usually my answer. I feel like no one can afford this. It's an insanely expensive sport. So I can't tell you how to make your money, but I can tell you a couple things that I've learned on how to save money while trying to go down the road. So I'm going to share with you a couple things that I found that might save you a couple bucks and maybe be valuable for you too. Okay, so my first tip is going to be invest in some panels. I just had to spend a small fortune on stalls and for one weekend. Sometimes you're not allowed to self-pen, which means you have to pay for the expensive stalls. But if you can save money by having your horses right beside your trailer, it's worth it. I also prefer to have them there because they're just really close by. I can keep an eye on them in that. So a lot of the time stalls are, anywhere from $50 to $100 for a weekend. And if you're running more than one horse, that adds up really fast. So if you are allowed to self-pen, bring panels. That way that you can set up your own panels, have your horses right there, and save yourself some money. I also have a pop-up tent. I'm going to show you guys a couple of pictures. I don't really have a good picture, but I'll show you kind of what my setup looks like. This is my redneck horse shelter. Grinchy loves it. Hiding from the rain. And I bring my own panels. I know my parents are really excited that I keep leaving stuff everywhere at their place, so these are my panels. They're on their side, so they're kind of hard to see. They're aluminum, so they're really light. And they're a good size, so I find horses don't want to knock them over or stick their heads through them. Panels can range anywhere from $500 to $1,500 for a set. You just need to look into what works for you. These are a little bit more heavy duty, but like I said, I find that horses don't want to push them over and try to run through them. So panels, totally worth it. These are the same kind of tents that I have, and you can find them at Walmart right now for $100. I think they'd be even cheaper in the States. So with that tent, if you get one of those, it's really awesome for when it's hot out, the horses can get out of the sun. Also good if there's some bad weather, if it rains and stuff. One thing I will say is if it starts to get windy, pay attention to it. Mine is a hardier one. I recommend getting one of the more expensive, kind of sturdier ones. The cheap ones just fall apart really fast. Peg them into the ground because I've seen them take off as well. So, if you've got really flighty horses or maybe live in a really windy area, it might not be the best thing, but I found for where I live and where I travel and the horses that I have, it's been really awesome. My next money saving tip is find a travel buddy. I would also recommend being kind of choosy about who you travel with. That's a whole nother thing, but pick someone that you get along with, that you find is positive and fun to be around, and see if you can travel with that person. That will help you cut costs. So usually when I travel with somebody, we split the fuel right down the middle. And if you're going on long drives, it'll give you another driver, so you don't have to drive the whole way by yourself. I spend a lot of time traveling with Kyla, my best friend. Her and I get along really well. We travel well together, and we have a lot of fun together, so I really like to go with her. Also, her and I are both kind of penny pinchers, so we both, the money saving aspect is good. So traveling with someone cuts your costs and gives you someone else to drive, so keep that in mind.
It's a lot more fun to have some company on the road when you're traveling. It's also a little bit safer. If you're a girl traveling by yourself, especially like us, driving at night a lot, it's really good to have someone with you. So travel buddy is definitely a good thing for more than just money saving.
My third money saving tip is bring your own food. It gets really expensive if you're eating fair food, if you are going out for meals all the time. That adds up really quickly. So bringing your own food, A, will keep you a little bit healthier on the road because you're not eating from a gas station, and B, saves you some money. So usually what I do is I go to the grocery store when I get somewhere, and we'll kind of stock up on a few things. I'm okay just kind of snacking, so if you're someone that likes a meal, this is a little bit more difficult, but still possible. So people will say to me, oh, I don't have a living quarters. Well, I rodeoed for a long time without a living quarters and spent most of my summer rodeoing, the past few years, in a little weekender that had a fridge that didn't really work. So I'm going to show you what I use if you don't have a fridge. If you don't have a fridge in your trailer, or a living quarters for that matter, invest in one of these awesome coolers. This one is guaranteed to keep things cold for up to, I think it's, I want to say 3 days, something like that. It's a good hearty cooler, lots of room in there. I'll just buy an actual ice block and store my food in there, and then I find them actually good for the entire weekend. So invest in one of these, it's worth it. So those of you that don't have a living quarters and don't really want to be packing your own food around or have really a proper place to make anything, buy things like this. They're little pre-made packs. They end up costing a little bit more, but worth it. So I'll buy those. Like, look, you can see pre-cut pineapple for my breakfast, that kind of thing. I'll also just buy myself like a fruit and veggie platter sometimes. That way I have healthy food. It's right there. It's already cut up, and I don't have to do anything with it. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope that helps you, and maybe you learned a couple ways that you can save some money this summer while you're barrel racing.